Hello and welcome to the very first video of Sparks Gaming. I'm happy you're here. Now, as to not bore you, I'll get right into it. In light of my not-so-recent obsession with Baldurs Gate 3, I decided I could handle a challenge run, a variant of the BG3 Frodo Challenge, to be exact. Let me explain what that is. In the official version of the rules, it's stated that it's played on Honor Mode. However, because I haven't even beaten my first Honor Mode playthrough yet, I will instead be playing on Tactician. But due to the fact that if my custom Frodo character dies, I have to restart, it's basically Honor Mode. And that's the second thing. I have to make a custom rogue halfling character who can only use short swords and is never allowed to level up. He also always has to be in the party, so I can't just leave him at camp the entire playthrough. His goal is to collect the magic ring from Maddis in the Grove, equip it, and throw it into the chasm at the endgame final boss. Finally, as I stated previously, if he dies before achieving this goal, it's game over and I have to restart from the beginning. So, now that you know the rules, I want to let you know that this is going to be a multiple episode series until I'm able to beat the game. So if you're interested in seeing future episodes, make sure to like and subscribe with notifications on. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So to start, here's our custom character, or Frodo Baggins, if you will. And then the game asks us to make a guardian, which isn't that relevant later on in the story, but for now, I wanted to make him look like Gandalf. So here is that. Okay. Yep. Gandalf the Grey. And without further ado, here we are on the nautiloid, ready to begin our long journey to collect the ring and throw it into the fires of Mount Mordor. We quickly grab a potion of invisibility and find a path deeper into the ship, where we then meet our favorite murder alien, Lae'zel, who immediately charges us into combat with some imps. Thanks, Lae'zel.
You proved surprisingly adequate in battle.
Do I? Moving deeper into the ship, we find God's favorite princess locked in an alien tube.
God's favorite princess.
And despite Lae'zel practically pleading with me to leave her to die, we free her. Welcome aboard, Shadowheart. With little delay, we make our way to the helm of the ship, where this octopus man, who definitely has our best interests in mind, tells us to connect the helm to the transponder and take control of the ship. Instead of listening to him, we use Shadowheart's magic of telling people what to do to steal Commander Zalt's sword and make our way to the helm after.
The helm's alien transponder. You've made it in time.
Upon taking control of the ship, we send it crashing towards the ground. Amidst the chaos, we somehow get knocked out of the ship, and falling desperately towards the ground, we survive by the mystical power of plot armor. After wandering around on the beach for a little bit, I find Shadowheart and we add her to the team. At this point, it's just the two of us and we're level 1. And despite being really close to a level up, I make the foolish mistake of triggering the next combat encounter. And it goes a little bit like this. At first, I attempt to play it smart. I activate turn-based mode and try and sneak my way around the brains. But eventually I realize there's no clear path in which they can't see me, so I make the stupid mistake of triggering combat with a firebolt. Shadowheart hits the first one, and combat triggers. She then immediately goes down to 2 brain blasts. A new round of combat starts, and Frodo is downed shortly. This results in me losing the first run. Time for attempt 2. This time, after speedrunning character creation, we quickly run into Lae'zel again, who's more than eager to help us with our imp problem. Moving deeper into the ship, we make another attempt to save Shadowheart, when this happens.
Another sensation washes
Are
over
you kidding, dude?
Connection.
What?
Authority.
What does this even mean, dude? Does Shadowheart die right off the
You
bat?
feel
Good luck on your own, Shadowheart. So far, attempt 2 has not been great, but the good news is, we're finally able to make it to the helm, where it's evident to me, our bad luck has not yet run out.
Your turn now.
Oh, no! What? What? This luck is atrocious. I don't care. I can survive.
Before more dragons come.
Alright, we're out. Okay, we're done. Yep. After narrowly escaping that disaster, we find an angry Shadowheart on the beach, who still hasn't forgotten we left her behind to die.
What? Stop! Not another step or I'll... Wait. You're the one who left me to die on the ship.
Suddenly, you see what she sees.
Not intentionally.
Feel what she feels.
Despite this, we're able to add her to the team with some negotiation. This time, instead of throwing myself into a combat encounter low-leveled and unprepared, I make a lockpicking check, do some grave robbing, and find a route that doesn't put us in any immediate danger. Moving on, I find this glowing purple portal where we're able to recruit our resident wizard, Gale of Waterdeep.
Gale of Waterdeep. Apologies.
Yes.
Usually better at this.
Gale.
We then recollect our murder alien from this cage and have a pleasant and tame encounter with this blonde man with an appetite for stabbing. We add him to the team too. And now that we've made a few friends, it was time for revenge.
You fight well.
Eventually, we do make our way to the Grove, where we have our first encounter with goblins. And I won't lie, this combat was a little scary. As it began, Frodo got immediately crit, reducing him to 1 hit point. So he did the only reasonable thing and bravely ran away. Following this, both Shadowheart and Lae'zel got 2 powerful hits off, and they downed 2 of the goblins. Lae'zel gets crit and is immediately down.
Okay.
Despite all these mishaps, we're able to whittle down the combat to one final enemy, who Shadowheart takes out with a Sacred Flame, thus ending the combat in very critical condition. Following this encounter, we're immediately rushed into the Grove, where the man who put all our lives in danger punches Zevlar, the leader of the Tieflings, in the face. We take advantage of this opportunity by robbing him blind. Moving deeper into the Grove, we meet Maddis, a boy running an honest, hard-working business. As a show of good faith, he gives us the one ring to rule them all. Objective 1 completed. Next up, we make our way to the leader of the Grove. While on our way there, we overhear an argument regarding the druids kidnapping a child. Thinking maybe the leader has something to do with it, we decide to go in and investigate. Making our way to the druids' quarters, we meet Kagha, the substitute leader in the place of Halsin, who had gone missing when investigating a goblin camp. And sure enough, she's responsible for the kidnapping of a girl named Arabella, who had tried to steal their idol. Passing a persuasion check, we're able to convince her to let the girl go. After the situation is resolved, we speak with Kagha again, and it's explained to us the druids plan on kicking the tieflings out and using a ritual to seal off the grove from an upcoming goblin attack. However, if this was to happen, then the tieflings would inevitably die on the road. In light of this, I had to go speak with the tiefling leader.
I'm gonna go steal shit.
While quote-unquote talking to the tiefling leader, we find a very interesting letter among Kagha's belongings.
Swamp dogs, tree, meet me, alone, Olodin.
Taking note of this, our next main objective is to look into the location specified in the note. But first, let's finish some business in the Grove. While on our way to actually speak to the tiefling leader, we run into Arabella and her parents, who are thankful enough to give us a magical locket. We then run into Will, the Blade of Frontiers, who had previously helped us fight goblins at the gate. Turns out, he's on the hunt for a devil and is interested in joining our team. I eagerly accept his request, as his ability to beat a child in a sword fight may be of use in the future. Finally, I do make it to meeting with Zevlar, the tiefling leader, who's in a terrible predicament as his people are being pressured out by the druid leader, only to face slaughter by goblins on the road. Now, an idea comes to mind. It might have been his idea, might have been mine, who's to say really, but what if we just killed Kagha? Took her out of the equation, you could say. I'm already in the process of getting dirt on her, so now it's just about follow-through. Zevlar seems mostly on board with the idea, so I say I'll take care of it, and that's the end of our conversation. On our way to go finish our Kagha investigation, we meet with a sweet old lady named Auntie Ethel, who says if we dropped by her home in the swamp, she can take a look at our brainworm problem, which has been hindering our progress in destroying the ring. At this point, we're on our way to the swamp anyway, so I say I'll stop by. Without much delay, we head out on the road again, and while on our way to the objective, we come across a sibling trio working under the same influence as the goblins. The leader of this trio was harmed by an owlbear and was bleeding to death when we found him. And since I know you clicked on this video to hear a dialogue option inspired rap, here's that for you.
Baldurs
Your
Gate.
minds intertwine. You see his siblings,
Wait.
Andric and Brenna. New
He got hit
recruits.
with the Owlbear.
Yours
Gotta
to
hold his
shepherd.
stare. Make sure that he doesn't lose his hair. I don't know.
Okay, just to cut in here, at the time of recording this, I thought of way better lyrics, and here's that for you. You got hurt by an owlbear. Now I hold your stare. There's a worm in your brain. Let's get it out of there. It's a power share. Gonna use it to give a goblin a scare. Alright, you're welcome. Okay, so, moving on. We're able to convince the remaining 2 siblings to help us kill the owlbear and avenge their brother. Here's how the fight went. I start by using Lae'zel's psionic leap ability to put her in the front of combat so she can tank hits. However, she's completely ignored by the owlbear mother as it proceeds to run past her and attack one of the siblings who had stupidly positioned himself. Shadowheart summons a spiritual weapon to attack on the front lines, as well as throwing a successful guiding bolt. From this point, I begin wailing on it with attacks from all angles, and I get it down to roughly half health before it activates an ability buffing its combat strength. It then proceeds to do heavy damage to Lae'zel. We eventually get it to a point where we're attacking the owlbear from all angles, and it's at very low HP. So in a final act of desperation, it lashes out at our sibling friend, killing him in 2 attacks. Following this, the other sibling and the final living one in the trio cast Sacred Flame, finally killing it and concluding the combat. After finishing off the mother, I decide to spare the owlbear cub and loot a large egg from the nest. I then say goodbye to the other sibling and carry on my way to the swamp. While on my way there, I begin looting through some boxes, and I find some
potatoes. Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
And that's my one obligatory Samwise reference for the video. And without further ado, we eventually make it to the entrance of the swamp, where we find our dear old friend Auntie Ethel being harassed by 2 gentlemen calling her a hag. Knowing she would never hurt a fly, we help her with her situation. After thanking us for our assistance, she proceeds to teleport away in a poof of green mist. Because, as everyone knows, all women over the age of 60 can do that. Following this perfectly normal interaction, Gale floats the absurd idea that
There's a little something more to Ethel than meets the eye.
What?
ignoring his superstition based off of no relevant evidence, we continue on our way to the location stated in the note. And this is the beginning of a series of unfortunate events. As it turns out, my level 3 party, who has not taken a single long rest up until this point, was not prepared for the encounter guarding our desired location. The second the combat began, and I processed just how terrible my odds were, I sent Frodo back to the other side of the water, as this entire challenge revolves around keeping him alive. And in case I thought I was already in for a rough time, the enemies confirmed that suspicion by summoning more enemies. It was around this moment that I realized I was completely out of spell slots for my wizard, and the panic started to set in.
Yeah, maybe it wouldn't have been a good idea to take a long rest.
After I saw Shadowheart was also out of spell slots and she missed her first attack, I began to retreat her towards the water. I then have Lae'zel attack and push one of the flying mud monsters, and then rush further into the combat. And because the mud monsters explode on death, this was my plan.
I'm gonna take the center, get swarmed, kill one, it's gonna blow up and kill a whole bunch of them, you know? Right?
My plan quickly began to fall apart as the mud methods decided to ignore Lae'zel and swarm Gale. The tree monster then proceeded to entangle Lae'zel, halting her movement. After Gale got coated in mud, his odds of hitting the enemies became incredibly low, and any reasonable person would cut their losses and run at this point. But, for the sake of an argument, here's what would happen to an unreasonable person. Gale begins missing attacks, Lae'zel kills one of the enemies in melee and takes damage from it exploding, and Frodo is reinforcing with potions from the back. However, the enemy catches on to this and begins to throw attacks his way. I have Lae'zel chug a haste potion for the extra action, and she begins to do some damage, but it's too little too late by now. Shadowheart is swarmed, Gale goes down, I use Frodo's action to throw a potion and get him back up, only for enemies to fly across the water and start attacking him. And just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, Lae'zel also goes down, and no one is around to heal her.
Fuck.
I use Fog Cloud so Shadowheart doesn't provoke an opportunity attack and can run away. However, as I end my turn, they once again down Gale, and this time they proceed to execute him on the spot before sending more enemies across the water. I use a potion of invisibility on Frodo and begin retreating him, as the enemies also kill Lae'zel. Finally, I manage to completely retreat Frodo, and the combat concludes with the methods killing Shadowheart. Yeah, if you just went, yikes, you've experienced a fraction of what I felt. So, here's the new problem. Typically, the game gives you a way to revive your dead teammates, and its name is Withers. However, I have not yet found Withers, and doing so is locked behind a combat encounter. I assume if you're following, you've thought, well, that's no problem. Just switch out your dead party members with the living ones in camp and go do the combat. And you better believe I tried that. But the game doesn't let you switch out your dead party members till they've been revived. So for now, I'm stuck with a level 1 halfling and a dream. unfortunately, that's where I'm going to end today's video. If you made it all the way here, I just want to let you know you're awesome. And if you want to see what's next, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn notifications on. Other than that, I'll catch you in the next one.